We're back with you on In Focus. The Public Works Department has again raised concerns over hijacked buildings in the country. The article on News 24, quoting Minister Dean MacPherson as saying that over 200 state properties have been hijacked, with most of them being in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. The Inner City Resource Centre's Monica Hassamo is with us now for more on this. Monica, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Some 272 state properties that have been hijacked. Are you surprised by this particular report?
Thabo, as I would say, I'm not surprised about the report because of the inner city state of buildings that is very vast. Inner city of Johannesburg is a very vast place, it's very big. So we only knew that there was only 180 when it was while Mr. Mashaba that was there, while he wanted to hand it over to the property, to the investors. So I'm not surprised about that. So it's fine, because as we know that inner city, we don't have land, we only have buildings. But it's okay that the public works, they stated that it's 200, whatever that you've just said, 275.
Yes. So they're saying there are 4 categories that they've identified. Interesting that you mentioned the land question. They're saying 1, there is land invasions. 2, there is irregular occupation. 3, there is illegal occupation. And then 4, there is stolen properties. How do you then distinguish between these 4, and what is land invasion and what is irregular occupation and what is illegal occupation or what is stolen property, and how that affects residents and individuals, I suppose, who are seeking accommodation?
Okay. What I would state is when you talk about land invasion, in the inner city, there's no land. It's only buildings. So the properties that are around there, it should be properties that people, occupiers that occupied while they used to rent. So now, and we stated with the stolen properties, there's no stolen properties, as we understand it. There is a public works, if it's JPC as a public works with their buildings, they never had time to go and look at their buildings and state, okay, this is what is happening. You guys have occupied our buildings. So what must we do from you guys that you have occupied from the time that you occupied? So what we are saying now is when people occupy those buildings, they used to rent, pay rentals. But now, come 20 years down the line, because of 30 years of democracy, it's 20 years, the people, they've occupied the buildings because of when we go to those buildings under JPC, if I can state that could be JPC, when we are talking about the public works buildings. JPC's buildings have been occupied by people for many years, but when they came into power as our so-called government, what happens is that people rented, and then they stopped people from paying rentals. They wanted to take, because of some of the JPC buildings, they've been, there's no water, there's no electricity. And then people had to restore themselves using yoga. That's what they did. So using yoga is being dealt with in those buildings. That's why we have this problem that we're having now. Because of city itself has created slums by default in the buildings of the inner city of Johannesburg. And then when they say they've got private owned entities building wabo, of which the buildings that they are owning, they didn't take care of them. Now, because of they are facing the situation of like the problems of Usindiso and the other buildings that are coming through the fire. That's now where there's a wake-up call for them now to say, okay, fine, let us wake up and reclaim the buildings. While as us, as Inner City Resource Center, we have been marching through to the Premier from 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, we had a picket. We've got memorandums we've handed over. The only person that would respond to our grievances with the people from the ground, with the people from those staying in those buildings, it was only Denbo from the Premier's office. It was then Makura, and then through Panyaza Lusufi, the last meeting that we had, it was last year, of which it was on the 2nd of March. We marched on 2023 to say, let's have a common ground. Let's have the common ground to say, like what we want is that people, they don't want they don't want mansions.
Yes.
The only thing that they
High-rise
want
buildings
is to have a flat rate of rentals that they should have.
Right.
But then now we say, okay, fine, let's have a common ground so that we can meet the people. So what should we do with the people? What should we have?
Yeah,
but do you
think you're going to have that common ground, Monica? Because the minister is saying they are not going to regularize you. They are saying the strategy that they are taking is evict and recover. They're saying, for example, in irregular occupation, some of the families are occupying previous government buildings or which were owned by employees who have died, right, and left their family members there in those properties. Now, due to the changing of housing policies, they're saying you cannot regularize those people staying there because the person who was authorized to own that building is no longer alive. So the approach they take on that instance is evict and recover. Also, illegally occupied vacant land or illegally occupied commercial buildings, they're saying they're not going to be involved in a process of deliberately trying to regularize that thing. They are going to evict and recover. So how do you think that strategy is going to be accepted?
Okay, fine. Through the court of law, because I see there was a judgment that came through. They say they won 12 buildings that they are owning that are hijacked. But how do you demoralize and say that the buildings are hijacked? Buildings are not hijacked. People used to rent, as I've stated. People used to rent. But because of the economical structure, the rentals, because there were no management structures that were there. So when people try to go to the city, say, okay, fine, this is a building, but can you give us an account? Can we pay this much? Yeah. They never wanted. So now that's why they say this is a so-called buildings that are being hijacked. That's why we get people that are renting even now in those buildings that you say, you guys, there's a so-called hijacked buildings. Yeah. And then if they say now they are not going, they want to evict. There's a judgment, they want to evict the people, but now it says city. What is the alternative accommodation that you're going to give them? Yes. Of which it has failed them in years. There are people that they've done that 2009 that came from Car Street, where now we know it's a new mall that was built for the World Cup. The people were put in Moth building, of which is corner Risik, and it's behind De Villiers. It's Moth building. Those people, they've waited for 15, close to 14 years. They've been staying there. Last week, they were told that they were going to be moved to so-called RDP houses. They cannot just jump. The people that just they registered a long time ago. Then those people, they waited for 15 to close 14 years. Yes. Or when they say alternative accommodation they give to people is close to 6 to 12 months, of which they failed the people. And then we also have people that are staying in Wembley, temporary accommodation, which is stated in Tafontein. Those people, they've stayed, it's almost from 2018, it's close to 6 years. They are staying there. So if you tell people that, okay, now we are going to move you to the T, you're going to stay there for close to 6 to 12 months, and then it becomes a permanent stay. What, they don't have a plan. And then they are talking about investors. Investors are there for profit before people. So why can't they use those buildings that they claim that they are being hijacked, they refurbish them so that people can be able to stay in those buildings and pay the flat rate that can be that can be affordable, because people need security of tenure.
Right. But they are saying then transfer those illegally occupied properties to relevant municipalities. So will the people who are occupying those be willing to move out, go to avenues of alternative accommodation that have been identified so that those properties can be taken back to the relevant municipalities?
Okay, I understand you are talking about this alternative accommodation. As I stated, they have failed with the alternative accommodation. People have been in a permanent stay. So we've got people that are staying in tents for more than 8 years. And then now a new state that they must go for alternative accommodation. Where are they going to place those people? We've got people at the Sindiso where they are sheltered in those shacks called Shalazile in Denver. Those people, they feel unsafe as they are. So where are they going to place them now? Like these 180, close to 200 buildings or whatever, where are they going to place those people? So they need to have a plan. They need to work with us to state with, as you as NGO people and working on the ground with these people, how can we work with this plan? We've got plans that we can assist them. Instead of running to the investors, taking to the investors, that the investors were looking at the profit. Yeah. Because of the investors will be looking at the profit of stating that they will be looking at the profit of making the rentals to be close to 6,000, while the people that will be willing to pay 1,000 rent, if it's a 3-bedroom, maybe 3 families can stay in that place. Yeah. Because the people are not looking for much. Right. Because of people are renting in those dilapidated buildings.
Yeah. All right. Monica, appreciate your time. Let's leave it there. Monica Hassamo from the organization Inner City Resource Center there.